Hey, Aaron here. Today I want to just show you the stone saw, the quick cut saw, how to use it, how to start it, how to check it, make sure it's operating. What else are we going to show you? Two different sizes, how to do a cut, and how to properly and safely use it. So stick around and I'm going to show you all that. Okay, so we've got two saws here. There's a bigger one and a smaller one. The smaller one we use for cutting everyday bricks and whatnot. The bigger one we use for cutting bigger blocks for retaining walls or steps, big steps. But either way, stone saw, you want to make sure all the teeth on it are intact on your diamond blade and nothing's bent or out of shape when you first look at it. You want to make sure your air filter is clean, which I've already done. You just want to have an all-around check. Make sure everything's looking the way it should. Gas cap's on. I just filled it up with mixed gas. Tells you right on here, mixed gas, gas plus oil. And it's a 50-to-1 ratio. But yeah, that's all good to go. And to start it, there's three different settings here. This is your choke. Put that right up like that. So your choke's on. And then here you have off, on, and start. So when you do this, you want to pull. There's a safety here and a trigger underneath. And you want to pull the trigger and pull this down into the start position like that. So now you're ready to go. You've got it choked here. You've got your start position here. And on the side right here, you've got your primer. You want to pump that a bunch of times until the gas gets right up in there and it's primed. And that's the same on both of these saws. That's how you would start it. So now I'm going to give it a couple of pulls and cut a brick, and I'll show you how I would do that. Okay, well, I just made a cut. Got all my safety gear on. Safety glasses, hearing protection, and a respirator. Very important. Wear safety glasses when using the stone saw. You don't want to lose an eye because it'll happen very easily. Whether they're tinted like this, which sometimes you need on sunnier days, or clear like this on overcast days like today. Either way, you need these because these are very important PPE. Always wear them when operating the saw. Hearing protection. I wear these usually. These are earmuffs. They also have a radio in there and Bluetooth, but earmuffs I always prefer, but you can also use roll-up earplugs and put them in. But these, I think, do a better job. They seal better. They stay on. They don't bounce around. They don't fall out. And they'll protect your hearing because I know a lot of older guys who've been in the industry for years not using these, and they're pretty much deaf now. So use these all the time. Use your safety glasses all the time. And definitely use one of these all the time. You want to use a respirator with clean filters in there because it's like night and day. I've used dust masks like the N95s or whatever before, but compared to something like this, I think this is like $50, well worth it, and the replacement filters might be $20. But either way, a respirator is way better than using just the normal dust mask. I mean, a dust mask, if you don't have anything, you're in a gym, wear it. But other than that, this respirator is amazing and it'll save your lungs. So you definitely want that. Now, when you're cutting with the stone saw, you want to keep it on somewhat of a bevel when you're cutting, because usually when you're setting interlock in, you want it slightly beveled in so it sits in there perfectly and it's nice and tight, so your top will touch your other brick and the bottom sort of tapers in. So that's how I do that. When you're cutting, you got to be very careful because it's so easy while you're cutting to have something happen. This saw can jump. This saw can go out like this into your face. So you always want to have a firm grip on it. I lean like this. I put my forearm on my elbow. I get right in there so I can see what I'm doing, and I make cuts like that. That's how I've always done it. I've never had any issues. Knock on something. So yeah, as long as you got all that on, you're good to go. Cutting your brick, steel toe boots, eye protection, lung protection, hearing protection, and you make your cuts. You can cut like that all day long. This is a comfortable position where the saw is balanced and you can easily cut. Now for bigger cuts, you use a bigger saw. So this is a bigger blade. It's a heavier saw. It's more powerful. And we use this the same way, but sometimes we use it for bigger steps. When we're cutting, 4 foot, 5 foot, 6 foot steps, we'll use this baby. Or when we're building a retaining wall with blocks, or whatever you're using to build the wall, we'll use something like this to get through, because otherwise you have to flip over your piece. Even with the steps, you have to flip it over and cut it on the other side too, in some of the bigger blocks just to get through it. But so that's when you would use this big guy for that. PPE, that thing. What else do we have? Tight clothes. You always want to make sure you're wearing something tight. And this I consider tight. Pants could be a bit tighter, but I mean, this is what I wear because it's very easy as you're using these saws and cutting to have that blade suck up your shoelace if it's untied. These don't have shoelaces, these particular steel toes, but your shoelace can get sucked into that blade, bring the saw into you, and you're going to get injured. Loose clothing, same thing. It can suck your pants in. If you have long baggy sleeves, it can suck your sleeve right into there, and not a good time. I know a guy who cut his leg, one of my main workers, cut his leg all the way up here. I forget how many stitches he got, inside and out. It wasn't while he was working here. It was before he came here. But he was using the saw, and whatever happened, I think someone came up to him and disturbed him as he was making a cut, and the saw jumped, got him all the way up the leg. Lots of staples, lots of pain, lots of blood. So that's another thing to think about. Bystanders and people around you. When you're cutting, you need a safe spot to be cutting. And you got to think about where you're cutting. Is there cars close to you? Is there people going to be walking by on a sidewalk? Is there kids playing next door? Is there a glass window over there that's going to shoot a piece of rock into it and smash it? Is the dust you're creating, is it going into somebody's window next door and you're going to tick them off and you're going to give yourself a bad name and piss them off in the meantime? You got to think of all this, where you're cutting. We try and set up somewhere out of the way where the wind's blowing away from our work site. That's not always ideal. You can't always do that. So these saws both have a hose attachment on here. Now, we don't use it very often because it makes cutting a bit trickier and messier, but you can put a garden hose on here and have water running as you're cutting. So as you're cutting, you have a water hose hanging off of it with the water on, and it's keeping the dust down. Other ways you can do it, you can have someone there with the sprayer spraying as you cut, but I find your line, it's hard to see your line when you're cutting when you have water everywhere, and it makes a gummy mess everywhere you're cutting. So it's not ideal. Sometimes if the dust is going in a different direction and we don't want it going that direction, we'll have one guy, as we're cutting like this, there'll be a guy with a backpack blower or a leaf blower standing over here directing the dust where we want it to go, away from the house, away from the neighbor's house, whatever. So that's that. And yeah, you just got to keep in mind where you're working because you don't want to have any problems at all with bystanders. Teeth. I spoke about the teeth on these saws earlier. These are diamond blades to cut stone. And these teeth, as they wear down, they get weaker and weaker. So you got to keep an eye on this and make sure this is a good blade all the time, because I saw a guy using a cheap stone saw blade and teeth were flying off of it, and he didn't realize until there was one in his leg. So he was cutting away like this, and teeth were flying off. And one, thank gosh it didn't hit him in the face, but it hit him in the leg. And a piece of that blade went right in his freaking leg, and there it was bleeding. Like, he pulled that out, and it was bleeding pretty good. So, he got patched up or whatever, but accidents happen. This is an intimidating machine, and it's not for somebody to use who doesn't know what they're doing. So make sure you have your personal protective equipment on when you're using it. Make sure you have some sort of idea of how to use it. And always ask questions if you don't know, because it takes time, like anything, to learn how to properly use it. But it's not that hard of a tool to use once you've done a couple of cuts. So always do practice cuts, and you'll learn it pretty quick. It's not that hard to figure out. Now, I'll do different videos on curves and other things, because for big areas where you want to do a curve, we call that a one-time, and we cut it all at once. We go along the curve like that, and you follow your line all the way around. But that's a different video. I'll show you that in another video. And the holes, I have another video on holes. How do you cut a hole around something round if you have a water box or something? So that's a little bit tricky. You turn the saw around and you're basically working like this, as if it were a table saw. It's a little dangerous, but hey, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. You just got to be safe about it, watch what you're doing, and know what you're doing. That's definitely not a beginner move, that's for sure. Because you can get hurt very easily. What else do we have here? I think that's about it. That gives you a quick rundown on the saws and how to use them. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and subscribe. I've got lots of videos on landscaping, how to price jobs, how to do jobs, jobs we've done. I've been in business 16 years. I've been doing this for 27. I like to think I know what I'm doing. Take a look at this description and subscribe. Check out my other videos. Other than that, thanks for being here.